All right, guys, if you're here to listen to Hope International, come on in and take a seat. And maybe come on up to the front, because we're actually going to start off with a game. So we want a real good sense of competition up here. You want to know who your enemy is? All right. Welcome, welcome. Now, while you guys are taking your seats, our lovely Jen Tarbell is passing out a card. And you're going to want to put your name on the card and your email address, because since you're here, and if you brought a friend, be sure and fill out an extra card, you get the chance to win a gift card to McCormick and Schmitz. Is it Schmitz? Yes, Schmitz. Yes, so you could be a lucky winner. And your chances are good today, guys. Your chances are really good. Fill out a couple. Hey, there we go. There's chances to win multiple things today, so this is exciting. For those of you who don't know, my name is Haley Smith. I'm the regional representative for Hope in Los Angeles, right up the road. And then I'm here with Holly Wiley, who's our regional rep for Hope in Orange County. And then we have a Hope veteran, Jen Tarbell, who's on our local board here in Orange County. So we are so excited to be here, and I see there are some faces that know Hope well and that have been longtime friends of Hope, but there's a couple new faces in the room. And for those of you who don't know, our mission is to invest in the dreams of families experiencing poverty around the world. And we do that by living out the gospel of Christ and providing two basic tools, which is microloans, small loans, and then savings opportunities. And we bundle that up with biblically based business training. And while we are so excited to share a little bit more about our work around the world, I think what we get really excited about is celebrating the fact that God created every single person with gifts to use. And when we're able to use those gifts, we can actually live into the kingdom of God and the gospel of Christ. And I think that's really what Convene is all about as well. It's helping people use their gifts. And so it's just whether or not we have the opportunity to do it. And it helps you invest then in your family, and then invest that in your community, and then your neighbors around the world, both locally and globally. So we're excited to celebrate that. And I know it's about 3:50 now. And if it's 3:50, for me, I want to either have nap time, snack time, or pool time. So you guys are extra special. The real hardcore group of Convene is right here. So we kind of want to just get our blood flowing, play a little bit of a game to start off. We're going to play some Jeopardy and challenge that knowledge. So as you can see, we have a professional Jeopardy board right here. And we're ready to play. So I'm going to split you guys up into two teams, Team A and Team B. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Team A, and then we have Team B. Here we go, Team B's right here. Okay, so we're going to play till about 4 o'clock. We're not going to get through this whole game, but we're just going to see who can get as many points as possible, and you'll get a small prize, whoever wins. And I mean, gosh, probably everybody's going to get a prize today. So, all right, so our 4 topics. First, we've got... So our 4 categories are hope, so we're going to test your hope knowledge. The need, we're going to learn a little bit about poverty around the world. Microfinance, Convene, and then God and money. What does the Bible say about poverty, or about money? Okay, Team A, who wants to go first? Pick a category, pick a dollar. Oh, wow, you're going big. You're going big. All right, God and money for 400. Here we go. Okay, so rather than storing up riches here, what are we told to do with what God has blessed us with? What is the answer, guys? $400. It's for heaven. Storing it up in heaven. What's the answer? Guys, there we go. All right, Janice, you're our scorekeeper, so $400 for your team. All right, next, throw that board back up here. Okay, Team B, what do you choose? Convene 400. Okay, what is the Convene hot seat, guys? What's the hot seat? I hadn't heard of it either. Well, okay. Okay. All right. What's the answer? Next slide. Oh. Nope. Uh-oh. I think you're pretty close. If I remember the answer, it's somebody stands up and presents a challenge to the group, right? All right, so they got it. Convene for 400. Woohoo! All right, Team A, pick another. Hope for 400. All right, what is the number of countries Hope operates in? 15. All right, what's the answer? 15's right. There we go. All right. Good thing I have them in my mind. It's okay. Okay, next one. All right, what do you guys choose? Team B. The need for 400. All right, what is the percentage of people who have been reached by a Christian microfinance organization? The percentage. The percentage of people who have been reached in the whole world. We got an answer? 14. All right, what's the answer? 6%. So you are close. Yeah, 6. All right, what's the next one? Group Team A, we're going to do 2 more questions. Microfinance for 400. Who is the father of microfinance? There we go. Jen's got it. Mohammed, I don't even want to see what the answer slide says. All right, Team B, this is the last question we're going to do before we hit our panel. Which one do you choose? God and money, 300. What does Jesus teach about the giving of the poor widow? That is it. You got it. She gave all she had. All right, Janice, what's our score? Wow, that one, and the answer slided it up right. It's 1,200 and 700? Way to go, Team A. But since you're here, everybody gets a prize. Prizes here, prizes in heaven. All right, thank you guys so much. Now I'm going to be bringing up Holly to the stage, and she is going to be leading a panel with some of our good friends, friends of both Convene and of Hope. So come on up. Or I'll switch you this way. Yeah.
Great, and I'm going to give Haley the prize, which is some candy that everybody can enjoy. We are privileged today to have 3 panelists. And I'm going to ask them to come on up and take a seat and a microphone. First, we have Anthony Barton, who you all met this morning. So, yes, congratulations to Anthony. It's awesome. And then Janice Minamitsu from Generous Giving. And then Lance Wood, who is with PricewaterhouseCoopers. And so they're going to talk a little bit about. Oh, I left my question sheet. Hold on a second. I gave them 2 questions to think about. And I'm going to ask Anthony to go first, then Janice, and then Lance. So take 3 to 5 minutes, Anthony, and answer 2 questions for us. The first question is, tell us how God got a hold of your heart for generosity from a business perspective. And then I know that you're involved with a lot of other organizations, great organizations. And so what is it about Hope that resonates with you?
Great. I'm going to stand up if that's okay. So a little audience participation. Has anybody ever asked you a question where it was like an aha question and you couldn't answer it, but you should know the answer, and it was a deep reflection, like a spiritual question? You're like, wow, I never thought about that, and why didn't I think about that? And it just sits with you for a long time. Well, when I joined Convene, it actually coincided within that year of when I got involved with Hope and what I fell in love with Hope about. And I hope you actually could write these 3 questions down. I think they're very profound questions, but they're very simple questions I never thought about. So here's the first question. Anthony, from 2 different people asking me 3 questions. Anthony, what's your mission statement? And I said, you know what my mission statement is. He goes, no, what's your family's mission statement? And I was just like, wow, I feel really dumb. We don't really have a family mission statement. I've never even thought about that. So I went home that night, and we sat around the dinner table, and my 3 kids at the time were all home. My daughter was getting ready to go off to college, and we kind of, we picked a mission statement. Our mission statement is Matthew 25:40. Second question, the third question, by the way, I think is the most important question. So coming up to that.
Anthony, tell us Matthew 25:40 for those lame people like me that don't know it.
That's coming up.
Okay.
That's coming up when I talk about hope. Okay, I love it though. Number 2, second question. Dave, you were with me in that. Do you know what question that was? I've shared this with you. You were with me in that meeting. We sit on a board together. A trust attorney said, when I sit with my clients, I ask them, you have to make a difference, but you really need to decide if you want to leave your family a gift or do you want to leave them a legacy? And I was like, wow, that's powerful. Please unwrap that for me. He unwrapped it. And I think that's a big question as business leaders, as leaders in our community, or anybody just who's in a family. I mean, do we want to leave or be a part of, do we want our family to be part of a gift or a legacy? Here's the third question. This to me is one of the most profound questions, personally, I believe, in all of humanity. And it doesn't matter if you're an atheist or a Jesuit. I've asked this question to people. Here's a really unique side point before I ask this question. I've asked 18-year-old young entrepreneurs in Africa this question, and they could articulate it like that, not even that literate, but they could articulate it, look me in the eye, and they can answer this question. True story, no names. I've asked other people this question, graduate from Yale, went through a storm in life, 10 times smarter than I am, tons of knowledge. And when I ask them this question, to this day, we talk about this question. He goes, Anthony, I can't answer that question. It freaks me out. I don't know why. I can't find the answer to this question. Here's the question. Anybody want to guess what the question is?
What is your purpose?
What's your purpose? Here's the really good news, though. As Christians, there's a biblical verse with the word purpose in it, and I think it answers it spot on. Thessalonians 2:4 says, and this ties into hope, in my opinion. Our purpose, we are assigned to share the good news of our Lord. Our purpose is to glorify God, never men. He alone examines the motives of our hearts. I think Hope International does that so well in so many ways. So I want to tie into 3 reasons why our family and my wife and I, we integrated our business into Hope. Number 1, Matthew 25:40 is, when you love the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you did it for me. Very simple. Hope International, it's funny, a lot of ministries talk about that, and we could be very theoretical about it, but what I love about Hope International is it really has a platform, and it's not just reasons, but it provides results that are actually measured. And me being an entrepreneur, it's just so exciting to see what Hope has done factually. I mean, last year, I think Hope, Haley, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it reached an amazing goal of handing out over $500 million in loans with over 15 countries in the world. And that is something to be applauded, commended. And when you go on a Hope trip, which if you guys haven't been on a Hope trip, I advise you to go to see the lives and the tangible results and the harvest and the fruit that it produces. So that's really exciting. That's number 1. And you could cut me off on my 3 to 5 minutes. has godly solutions to combat poverty. You know, poverty to me, poverty is complex. I don't think poverty is an easy thing to figure. I know Peter Greer, who's the CEO of Hope, was talking about in America. I'll ask somebody the question, actually. Can I use you as the question? How do you combat poverty? What comes to your mind?
Providing tools and resources to allow an individual to perform to the level that they're capable of.
Providing resources. Great. Something that poverty, and Peter was explaining this when he did kind of one of his studies and results, is that in America, we think combating poverty is all about giving and providing resources. And there's this sense of inaptitude. But if you go to Africa and you ask about what has poverty done to someone's life and how has it hurt them, it's not about the resources they need jobs, and it's a sense of self-esteem they're losing. So that, to me, that makes poverty really complex, right? So it's really Hope International meeting those two needs about building self-esteem, but giving resources with loans and walking people through the process is amazing. Number 3, what I love about Hope International, this is one of my favorites. Hope International is kind of, I'm going to give the analogy of Jenny Craig. Why is Jenny Craig, there's so many weight wash, I have to have a little comment in here, all right? There's so many ways to lose weight, but why does Jenny Craig have a model that's so successful? Can anybody give me that answer? And Hope International ties right into that. Accountability. Every Sunday, group of people, they get on the scale. It's community. And this is where Hope International, I think, is the intersection of Hope International and Convene, I think, fits right in. It's a sense of accountability. It's kind of like a 12-step meeting, right? What happens, why do 12-step meetings work for so many people? Because at the end of the meeting, what do people do? It's about coming them in community, having accountability, and I just think that's a beautiful thing. So that's kind of like the trifecta I'd like to share in that short time that I really love about Hope International. Yeah, Jenny Craig, 12-step program, Hope International. Anyway, there's comedy in that. There's comedy, and let me finish with this. This is a great thing. My wife loves when I tell this story. When I was a young kid, I used to love old comedians, and I used to love old music. I don't know why. I was listening to Mel Torme when I was 16 years old. I just find it fascinating. I love Bob Hope. I met Bob Hope at a book signing. We're all laughing, right? I walked up to Bob Hope and I said, "Mr. Hope, it is such a pleasure to meet you. I got to ask you one question." He goes, "Sonny boy, what do you want to ask me?" I think I was 17. And he said, and I asked him, "What makes a joke funny?" And he looked down, he looked at me, he goes, "Wow, that's a great question." And he goes, "When it's so close to the truth." So anyway, that was a good laugh. I wanted to tell.
Hi, I'm Janice Minomitsu, and Holly asked me to talk about my giving story. And I grew up in a family, I call us the trifecta of savers. And my grandparents immigrated here from Japan when they were kind of maybe late teens. Another part of our family story is during World War II, my parents, my mother her senior year of high school was in an internment camp. And then the third part of our trifecta is that we're farmers. And farmers, it looks beautiful on the outside, but it's tough. You don't really have a lot of control. You can't, project your financial, your crop. You don't know what the quality of the crop. You don't know when it's going to rain or when it's going to be sunny. So I come from a trifecta of savers. How many of you can relate to that? Are you trifecta of savers or maybe trifecta of spenders? Spenders, savers, kind of a mixed bag. And maybe some of you, it was confusing because maybe part of your family were savers and part were spenders. I see a nod over there, yeah? So from that background, I knew how to save. And I knew that I had reached a saver's mentality, and my father was happy with that when he started to tell me, "Don't you need to get a new car? Don't you need to buy something?" I was like,
you told me to save, and now you're telling me to spend. But what I learned through my career, I worked in corporate America. I worked for major U.S. food companies. So if you ever wonder how that can of spaghetti sauce or jar of Healthy Choice soup or Pedigree pet food got to the shelf, I can tell you that. Those were some of my businesses. But through my giving story, I had learned how to tithe, quite well growing up, whether it be the little box or the little the change that I would put in the offering. And I knew I should give more than 10% because I could. I had more. My job was very. I was given more responsibility and also more salary, and so I would give more. But I still kind of wondered: is this kind of what it all is? So end up kind of being in corporate, being responsible for $250 million worth of food products. And then my company moves. It moves to Omaha, and I don't have a job. I worked since I was 5 years old, and I didn't have a job at that time. And I thought, well, this might be when God does something. Maybe God is going to change my life or change my career or change my work life. And he did. It's a long story, but he actually, through one divine appointment, dropped me into my senior pastor's office 24 hours after that senior pastor had prayed on his knees for God to bring 2 people to lead a capital campaign, and I was there. And so when people say, well, God obviously wanted me to learn about generosity to do that. That little 9-month sure volunteer lasted 9 years as our church developed our campus for more and more people. But through that experience, I not only learned how to talk about vision and cast vision for the others in our church, I learned a lot about what God had for me in my generosity life. And part of it was not to save so much. God was like, Janice, you're a good saver, but why are you saving so much? And I would have to say, part of it was my family heritage. I don't think my parents saved out of fear necessarily, but because of their experience that were totally out of their own control. Not only as farmers, but as the internment camp experience, they had learned that you need to have some provision for things that you can't control, and that was savings. So I'm like, wow, Lord, I kind of like to save. And it was just because I didn't know what was going to happen. Would I lose my job? Would I have a health problem? But God kind of talked to me, you don't need to save so much. Start giving more. And one story I have is since now, I was the only one who showed up 24 hours later after our pastor had asked God for 2 leaders. I needed to pray about my gift. And I was unemployed because my company had moved. They had given me a nice severance package. And I thought, well, I could live on this for a long time. I know how to save. And so I prayed, Lord, what would you have me give as a gift to the campaign? Because if I'm going to lead it, I need to step out and give first. And he gave me this number, and I literally went, I'm not working. This is a volunteer job. I'm not getting paid for this, and you have just given me a number that was the largest gift I've ever would have even thought of, maybe twice as much as what the largest gift I would have ever thought of. But I struggled with him. I said, that's crazy. How am I going to do that? And I was asking the wrong question. How am I going to do that? Not what is God going to do through me? So I learned, I put the number down. Subsequently, our CFO at our church said, I thought you were crazy. How are you going to do that? You didn't have a job. I said, that's what I was thinking. But it was very much a God-led decision. And I learned that God did provide. About 2 months later, my company had to call me back, and I can consult. And they said, what's your fee? And I said, I don't know. And they said, well, we'll pay you. So my fee for 2 hours a week, 10 hours a week, maybe 3 hours a week, over the course of that year, I ended up counting it, and it was without the bonus, without taxes, but it was equal to a year's salary. And that's what the Lord had asked me to pledge. And I thought, okay, Lord, I get it. I need to listen to you. I need to put away a lot of my rational thinking. I'm not terribly analytic like a CPA, but I'm more analytical than probably some people. And I had to put that away. No, and this has happened to me more than a couple times. I went to an event, and one thing I've learned about giving is I typically will not go to an event for a ministry if I hadn't already prayed about it in my heart that I would give something. So I've kind of, someone earlier said, decide before. Decide before you're in the midst of that conflict how you're going to be. And so that's kind of the same thing I know. It's like I'll go to an event if I'm interested and thinking, yes, Lord, I think this is something I have a passion for. And that's kind of important. What I've learned through my work in generosity is really know what your passions are. It's like what you said. Know your mission statement, know what your passions are, so then when those opportunities come up, it's much easier to then decide what to give, not if you're going to give. But one time I was in another state at this event, lovely event. They cast an amazing vision, and it was a ministry where you had to give to a specific project in a specific country. So I thought, I really want to give to this, and I started to write the number down, and I'm like, okay, Lord, I think this is what I want to give. And he said, add a 0 and change that digit to this. And I just was like, are you kidding? I mean, I probably even whispered that in the room, like, are you kidding, Lord? Where is that coming from? And then I thought, well, he said it, and he has proved faithful before. And it's not prosperity gospel. He gave me opportunities to make that money through consulting. I sort of figured he might do that again or something. It's a pledge over a few years. You could probably do that. And I wrote the number down. But this time, I was really curious, and my friend works for that ministry. So I said, hey, well, first of all, I said, oh, thanks for that gift. Didn't expect that. And I'm like, it's not from me, it's from Jesus. I didn't write that number down. Jesus kind of made me write that number down. And but I said, hey, can you call your accounting office? I just wonder how much of that project is done. What did that gift mean? Kind of, and not because I was wanting accolades, but why that number, Lord? Why that number that wasn't near what I wanted to give? So he called me right back. He says, you're not going to believe this. He said, this rarely happens in our office. And that same day that they counted up the pledges from that event, another check came in. And between my gift and that check, that project was funded for the year. And they're like, that doesn't usually happen. And so what did I learn? Listen to the Lord. He knows what he's about. And then subsequently, I was asked to be on a corporate board, and I didn't really want to do it, but I thought, this must be the way the Lord wants me to pay for that pledge, right? And I even told the owner of the company, I said, one of the reasons I'm doing this, honestly, is because I think God wants me to do this to give more to ministry. He's providing this as a way for me to give more. So those are some of my stories, but I guess what I would really encourage you is listen, ask the Lord, pray about it. He has a different story for each person. And just be cheerful in your giving, because that's what delights him the most.
All right. That was fun. Here, I'll take that. I have one, but I'll use this one. Hi, I'm Lance. I'm that accountant that thinks linearly. Is that a word? Linearly? That's not a word. So, have you ever felt like God, we're pretty sure that God spoke to you? Has God ever, I got a couple nods, yeah? God clearly spoke. So here's my story, one of my stories. I don't have that many of God speaking to me. I'm a business guy, and I got kind of attracted to hope. I'm not going to even talk about hope. I'm just going to talk about how the question was, how did God get your heart around generosity? And so I'm connected to hope, and it's fascinating to me because it's numbers, and you can prove it out, and Kingdom Impact for a giving dollar is huge, and blah 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 blah. So I'm telling all my friends, and my kids are sick about me talking about hope, and in any event. So it's when it was little, and in Orange County at least, but we got a bunch of people together, and we're getting Peter Greer, the man himself, to come out to speak at this breakfast. And so my buddies are there, and they say, you know what, Lance, you're going to do the ask. He's going to speak, and you're going to do the ask. And I said, that's really a dumb idea. I'm an accountant, and this isn't what I do. but I'll pray about it. So I prayed about it, and God said, yeah, you're going to do this ask. So I said, okay, I'll do the ask at the end. So now it's like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I pray about it again. I said, okay, God, you got me into this. Tell me what the words are to say. And God spoke to me. He said this. He said, I want your heart. And I said, okay, that's interesting, but that's an answer to a different question. What I need to know is, what words do I say to get people to give money? He said, I want your heart. And I said, basically this is happening over a little period of time. I said, okay, here's the deal. You made me. I'm an accountant, right? I have a little teensy-weensy heart. That's the kinds of hearts that accountants have. I'm a business guy. It's not a huge heart, very small heart. And it's mostly tied to money, right? And I am giving money, more money to Hope than I've ever given anywhere else. So God, you got my heart already, right? So, what should I say at this thing? It's predictable what he said. He said, I want your heart. I said, okay, here's the deal, God. What do you mean that you want my heart? He said, what I want you to do is love those people that are clients of Hope, that this side of heaven you will never see the way that I love them. And I said, God, here's the deal. I know a trap when I see it coming, and I really like my life. I'm not praying that prayer. I don't want to go there. It's going to screw up my whole life. I can't, and besides, I can't love them. You're God. I'm not. I can't love them that way. And so, have you ever known that God was speaking to you, but refused to go there? It's really uncomfortable, right? And he knew he had me too, because this event was coming up, right? And so I'm going, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. But now it's a week before, and God, I said, you got to help me. This was your idea for me to be the ask guy. Tell me the words. And he said, I want your heart. I said, and at this point, it's just nuts. And I say, okay, here's the deal, God. I can't love those people the way you do. I don't have that kind of heart. But I'll tell you what, I will agree to pray that you would expand my heart to love them the way that I love my kids. And God said, okay, I'll take that deal. And then I said, so what do I say at the ask? And he said, just tell him about your heart. And so that's what I did. I basically said, you know what? I'm here. I don't know what you guys are going to do, but I'll tell you the deal I made with God. And I'm giving him my heart, and I'm praying for that, and I'm going to give money. And if you want to give money, great. And if you don't, that's okay too. And it was probably the best ask I've ever had or will ever have in my life. But that's really moved me forward from a perspective of generosity, is trying to have God's heart around the whole program. And it seems dangerous at first. And maybe it is dangerous, but I really, I love living that way, and it's been really awesome for me. So.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions for any of them, I think we have a little bit of time.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, I do have to say one other thing.
Yeah.
So I'm on this Hope board right now, right? So people say, right, so now we're out there doing stuff, and Randy, one of the other guys on the board, just said this. He said, oh, hey, we're going to be at an event. Put Lance up there at the end. And what he'll do is he'll say a few things, and then he'll cry, and it'll be really good. So I'm like now known as the guy who cried. I don't do this.
That's awesome. Do you guys have any questions for any of our panelists? Don't be shy.
I was hoping to learn a little bit more about how the program works.
Oh, okay. Well, I will be happy to handle that one, and you guys can back me up. So we operate in 15 countries around the world. We have two models. We have a model that works through the local church called the savings group model. And then we have microfinance institutions where we give people loans, small loans. The average loan size is $250. And as we give the loans, we put them into a group of other people who also have loans. And then they cross-guarantee those loan amounts in that group. As they meet and they start paying off those loans, we use a curriculum in both the savings group model as well as the microfinance model that's done by the Chalmers Group. So they're in God's Word, they're worshiping together, they're reading God's Word and what God has to say about business, they're getting business training, and they're saving together. So other than that last comment, it's very much like a life group. They build trust amongst each other in that loan group or in that savings group. In the savings group model, we train volunteer church facilitators who facilitate those savings groups, and they meet on a regular basis. They agree on an amount that they all want to save together, and they pool those funds. And over a period of time, they're talking about how they want to use those funds if they take a loan out. In most situations, because over 60% of our clients are female, most of those fees go towards school loan or school fees, if you will, to put a roof over their heads, to feed their children, because many of the countries that we are in, food is a difficult, they're usually eating one meal a day. And so the opportunity to participate in a savings group through the local church, the pastor is the one who actually is recognized for bringing the savings groups there. And so the churches use it as an outreach to their community to build those savings groups. And that's the fastest part of our growth over the last 8 years, has been in the savings group model. So, how'd I do?
Great.
Okay, great question. Yeah.
Quick question. Of the three panelists, you are not only supportive of hope, but you're very enthusiastic about it. What is it about hope that gets you excited and makes you glad to be a part and supportive?
I'll go on that. Here's a key word, I think, when it comes to giving, especially from entrepreneurs that give, right? We're always looking at ROIs and KPIs and analytics. And what Hope does so well, it's a key word, here's the word, sustainability. It's long lasting. I'm gonna throw 2 other words in there that are big. There's a quantitative effect of what Hope does, right? It could be measured. Somebody talked about, you're an accountant, so you can get the analytics and the metrics, and I love numbers, and Hope really focuses on the sense and encourages. It's not just passion, but it's opportunities. Here's the word where I'll bring. I think Hope aligns with the mission statement of what God calls us to do. And it's qualitative. There's things beyond our rational comprehension, things that we can't see, we can't measure, that Hope has done, and it changed lives. When I went to Rwanda and I was able to see I don't cry that much, so I have to be careful talking about this. But when I saw the change in people's lives of what a simple loan could be, I could quantitate that loan all day long. But wow, the qualitative effect of how it affected her family, how it affected the community. And let me say this is a broad statement, at least in Rwanda. Hope is making a difference in the culture in that country. And Peter Greer wrote a book called Helping the Poor. The Poor Will Be So Glad. I hope I didn't get that wrong. But when I started looking at statistics and analytics of how Hope is in the trenches of combating poverty. And here's let me throw one stat out there that's pretty fascinating. Hope's on the front line of this. Over 62%, look this up, of the world lives on less than $8 a day. Think about that number. And Hope reaching out to 15 developing countries in the world and sharing the light of Christ and focusing on people's talents and abilities and bringing circumstances, that lights my fire. Now, there's a lot of amazing ministries, but I want to be very pragmatic in asking myself the question, when we give, it also needs to be, is it going to be sustainable? So.
I agree with that, and I think maybe said in slightly different words, disadvantaged women and children is a place where I have a heart for, and I look at global and local opportunities to support that. But I think this whole idea is it's high leverage. You're not only changing that family's life, but the community, the village, but also the future of the children. So it's a now and future kind of investment. And I think your point about sustainability, but I really see it as a transformational effort on all these different aspects that Anthony mentioned.
Mine's about the numbers. Kingdom impact per giving dollar, nothing comes close. Hope says it costs $17 to keep a person in a Hope program for a year. I've done my own calculations. I think because the interest income covers a lot of the cost of the program, I think it costs somewhere between $30 and $50 to change a person's. You want the mic? I think it costs between $30 and $50 to change one person's life forever. That includes getting them towards Christ and helping them to help themselves completely out of poverty. You just can't come close. Nothing else comes close.
Can you share an example
Of an example of what? Of a client?
help what they do with $250?
Yeah.
What kind of a business do they start?
Yeah. We actually, Lance and I went to the Dominican Republic last year, and we met Francine.
I knew you were going to say that.
And Francine is a Haitian living in the Dominican Republic. So she's, if you will, illegally there. So she was not eligible for any kind of loans from banks or anything else. And she had 3 children to support. She told us that God had given her a dream for an ice pop business. Gave her the ingredients, told her how to do it. And a friend told her that our partner there, Esperanza, was making loans to Haitians up to a certain dollar amount. So she went, applied for a loan at Esperanza, was granted the loan, and started her ice pop business. She bought the ingredients, bought a freezer, and bought a mixer, a blender. And of those 3, if you will, ingredients, she started an ice pop business. Fast forward about 4 years? I think it was about 4 years. We come in July last year. She's making 400 to 500 popsicles a day, selling them for 10 pesos each. She has 3 employees that take them on their coolers on their bikes around to the different villages around and sells them. She's building a room on the back of her house. Her next dream was, because she's been taking out series of loans and increasingly more loans as she builds her business. She's been able to send her kids to school, and then she's building a room on the back of her house so that she can rent it out to someone else and send her oldest child to the university. So when we met with her, her next project was she wanted to brand with T-shirts all of her employees so that when they're out, she has a brand for her popsicles. So just an amazing story of hope and of excitement for a woman who, a single mom with 3 children and no visible means of income. It was incredible.
Yeah,
So
I wanted to take you to that moment where she was in trouble, right? She's a Haitian illegal immigrant. She's married. She has 3 kids, and she actually has a 4th. and the fourth kid dies, and her husband really decides he's not part of this program. So now she's got 3 kids left. She's got no money. She's got no education. She's got no capability of doing anything. And that's when hope came into her life, and it was huge.
So how many or pesos? You said 4,500.
Yeah, she's making $5,200 US a year, something in that range. We calculated it while we were there, which is more than anybody else in Dominican. I mean, more than all of her neighbors makes. And she's employing 3 guys that come and help her, plus her sister, who's making all the popsicles. I call her Francine the popsicle lady.
And that started with a $250 micro loan?
Yeah, I don't know how much the
Yeah.
first initial loan was.
What kind of terms are normally given on those type of loans? Do they pay back over a
Ye-
period of years?
Yeah, other people probably know better than me, but I think generally the Hope loans are about a 6-month term, and probably the interest rate is something like 20%, which seems high to me as an accountant, but what that 20% does is it covers all the costs of the program, including this loan officer riding back and forth, and sometimes they, have other things that go with it. And to them, it's nothing relative to what the market would charge, because the market's doing these 6 for $5 loans where you get $5 and then 2 weeks later you pay back $6. And so a loan for 20% for a year is nothing.
Sometimes I see some programs that have like chickens or, goats or things like that. Hope would not necessarily be giving animals, but perhaps some of them would use the money to buy animals.
Yes, many of them do.
Yeah.
And animals tend to reproduce themselves.
Right, and a lot of the countries in Africa where we are, they'll set up a co-op where they'll buy goats. One person will buy a goat, and then they'll share the goat, and then they'll buy another goat, and then they'll breed the goats, and then they'll sell the kids, or they'll give the kids to each one of the members, and it just keeps going on like that. We have coffee cooperatives. We have, in Moldova, we have a rabbit breeder who raises rabbits for food, and he gives rabbits to other entrepreneurs that want to start a rabbit business. So that's his way of giving back for what God has done for him. So I want to be sensitive to our time. Please help me thank our panelists here.